Maria Jones, I have known you for maybe 4 years since we moved into the neighborhood, and over time, during our walking periods, especially walking dogs, we have come to know each other. But I heard little bits and pieces about your travel history, and I'm just fascinated and want to know more. I know that you're going to be inspiring others because of the stories you have to tell, but they're not the usual stories of getting on a cruise and going with 14,000 other people through the Straits of Juan de Fuca and down through the Suez Canal, but there are other things. So, Travel Talk, welcome. We welcome you, Maria Jones, and tell us a little bit about basically where you're from and what you did and what launched you into travel.
Well, where I'm from is I'm a Canadian by birth, born and raised in Winnipeg. So that's where I come from, country wise, if you want. But I met my husband when he was in Vancouver, and my husband has a whole other story to himself. But we hit it off, and over time we finally got together. And he was in the diplomatic service, so he traveled the world most of his life, most of his adult life.
So is that American diplomatic service or Canadian?
No, that's an American. He was posted at the consulate in Vancouver.
Oh,
So as a U.S. consular officer. So that's where I met him, and that's where our story began.
well, tell me a little bit about that meeting because maybe people here might want to meet similar.
Want to meet a diplomat?
Yeah.
Well, you need a brother and a sister-in-law who has a sister who took a Spanish course, and for some reason or another, Charles, my husband, decided that he was going to take that course as well. And so they met and they became friends. And then my brother and sister-in-law became friends with him as well. And I met him through my brother and sister-in-law. So it's kind of a roundabout way of getting to that point. But that's how we met.
Okay.
So, yeah, like I say, that's where our story began.
Then what happened?
Well, he was I was still living in Winnipeg. My family was living in Vancouver, and I was visiting on vacations and back to Vancouver. So while he was in Vancouver, posted at the consulate, he was there for 2 years. Every time I went to visit family, I'd get with him as well, and we got to know one another better and better. And then after the 2 years posting in Vancouver, he was transferred to Antigua.
Caribbean.
Yes. And so I visited him there a number of times. In other words, we had a long distance relationship for quite a while. But so Antigua was my first kind of exotic trip that I took. And it was really quite interesting to be there because he was living there. He knew a lot of local people, and that was one of the things that he liked to do, is to get to know the local population and the culture, and be involved with that. So it was
that must have been a huge change coming from Canada, Winnipeg in Canada, to the Caribbean, depending on the time of year, but still huge change.
Well, depending on the time of year, it could be Christmas time and you're decorating your palm tree. So for me, it was always nice because I was used to seasons and having the warm weather as well as the cooler weather and snow, lots of snow. Yes. And then we saw the Caribbean was quite a difference from that. It was actually very nice to have that kind.
Was that in your thoughts to get to know local people and experience the culture when you thought about traveling before?
Well, the one thing that he really intrigued, I was a kid back then. I was in my mid-20s. So I was still learning about a lot of things. And that's one of the things that I learned from him, is to be open to the culture that was there so that you can actually really experience the location you're at. And that doesn't matter whether it's the Caribbean or the North Pole. I mean, it's the same idea. You want to be open and accepting.
Yes.
and not infringing your own, well, back in this is the way we do it, so this is how it should be done.
Yeah.
So,
What kind of attitude? That's kind of like the ugly American way of traveling.
yes.
So you're lucky you were exposed to that at a very young age. And a lot of people are not, but we learn it as we go. It doesn't do any good at all to ignore what is out there, the rich culture of the people that we visit. Where else besides Antigua?
For me or for him? I mean, that's two different things.
For you?
For me, after that, he was posted to Dakar, Senegal. So, in West Africa. So, yeah, very long distance. And that's where he finally said, well, just come on over and stay. Like, that's where we really started to be as a couple. So, but it was also, I mean, talk about a culture shock. But again, if you're open to it and, respect their culture and don't, like I say, impose your own ways of doing things, man, just doing that can open you up to so many different things.
Well, like what?
Well, I can give you, because we have a lot of friends in the local community there, you get to see parts of like wherever you are in a completely different way, because you're not going to the local tourist spot that everybody goes to. You go to the more out of the way places. And we had an opportunity to travel with some good friends who he was a big muckety muck in the insurance business, Senegalese. But we were able to go with, or he could direct us to places that would be really interesting. And we got to see, instead of just the city life there, also the village life, which was, again, completely different from anything that we are exposed to here. And one of the things that, we kind of throw around here is it takes a village. Well, that's where it started. A village is really a family, whether you're related by blood or not, So you're thirsty, you can go into any house and say, I need a drink of water. They'll give you a drink of water. They'll also feed you. They'll also entertain you. It's, like I say, if you're open, they're going to be open and you're going to experience, some amazing things.
Did you feel safe when you were doing that out of
The villages? Yes, absolutely. You have to use common sense. Just like here, there's places you probably would go or shouldn't go. And then don't go. And same applies over there.
Yeah.
Should say at this point, one of the best things that you can do if you're in places that may be a little bit questionable, always let the embassy or the consulate know that you're in country. They're not interested in your itinerary so much as they're interested to know, okay, we have an American citizen that's in the country, so that if there's any kind of crisis, they know who to look for, that they need to look for somebody or to help somebody or something like that. But it's just a good safety precaution for yourself.
That's good to know. I found out about the STEP program where you register with the local embassy and they have your text and they can always find you through your cell phone. So it's a safety in case your family wants to get a hold of you and can't, or in case they need to warn you or alert you to anything. You get a text on your phone, which is pretty cool because that's one of the beauties of technology now is that safety factor. And it's not that you're in a village and the embassy is at a town, 200 miles away, that they're not going to swoop to the rescue, but knowing where you are is a big thing. It's a huge thing.
Oh, absolutely. And it's for your own safety. It's not, like I say, it's not like they're the government's trying to spy on what you're doing.
Yeah.
That's always a good tip. And even if you're traveling through Europe and you're in a country for more than 5 minutes, it's always good to let whatever the local U.S. authority is in that particular area, to let them know, hey, I'm here.
Yeah.
So if there's an earthquake or if there's a hurricane or something like that, they know that they have so many Americans that they know about because people always on the news, if you watch it, they say, well, how many Americans and how did you? Well, if you didn't register with the embassy, they have no clue that you're there and you need to be assisted.
Well, yeah. I have another question about traveling, especially using the route of Diplomat. Did you meet any presidents or kings or princesses or high-level dignitaries?
Absolutely. Because when you're part of the embassy, you are also part of the, we have the cocktail parties and all of that kind of thing.
Entertainment.
Well, you are there to answer questions. So a lot of times, yeah, well, most of the times in that kind of situation, you're meeting other countries' ambassadors and officials. But I have been to gatherings where I met the Australian president. I met the prime minister. I met the prime minister of Grenada. I've met, you just get to, in that particular environment. Yes, I didn't meet any princess that I know of or princesses. So other than that, yeah, a lot of officials from other governments. Yes, I have had that opportunity. There you go.
Maria, you were telling us about a funny story about a holiday in Dakar.
Yes, Charles and I had planned on inviting some guests for Thanksgiving dinner and having a sit down dinner, maybe 10, 12 people. But as we were writing out the list, we were going like, well, if we invite, so we have to invite so-and-so. And then our list kind of kept growing and growing and growing. And it ended up like we had 200 and some people that were on this list. Like I said, I enjoy cooking. So our original plan was I was going to do the traditional Thanksgiving dinner with the turkey and the cranberries and everything. I was sitting at a table with our friends, but there was no way I was going to cook for 200 and some people.
Blame you.
I never knew that would have been I'd still be recovering from that. But we decided to, because a lot of the people were on local residents. So we decided to ask them to bring their favorite or their specialty dish to contribute to this Thanksgiving dinner. And we ended up with, oh my goodness, so much absolutely amazing food. And, we did have the traditional turkeys, but one of our guests, brought a whole baked sheep. So that was kind of like in the middle of it was not a lamb. It was a sheep.
Roasted on a spit outside?
No, what happens is the bakeries there are all stone bakeries and these great big huge things, but you can go pick out your sheep and they will do all of the preparation and everything and stick the sheep, bake it in this stone oven. So it's truly amazing. And it really tastes good. The Senegalese can really, really cook. I mean, they have amazing cooking skills that are just.
That's part of the delights of traveling is the wonderful food people eat. They eat it every day. They don't even notice it's very good, but you eat it and you go, yeah.
Oh, yes. There was a lot of going on around there. Like I said, it was pretty amazing and different from what we do here, obviously, but it was an amazing afternoon that we had with that whole group. So
that's really a special experience. I think when you travel, even as a couple, if you're open to it, and you spoke about being open, you can meet people and total strangers. We have met total strangers who have invited us in for food or to come with them and enjoy food together, or even a potluck where we get together and each bring food. There's something magical around the table that happens that doesn't happen anywhere else.
Oh, absolutely. Food comforts people. Mm-hmm. So that's why we have the terms like comfort food and that kind of thing. But it doesn't matter what the dish is when you're all sitting around the table and sharing in all of the wonderful things that are in front of you, it changes everybody's attitude. So yeah, no, it can be very, very special to And the other thing is, in a lot of places overseas, is that when somebody invites you to partake in a meal, it's really rude to decline,
Yes.
because it's almost like a handshake here. You wouldn't if somebody puts their hand out. You're not going to say, I'm not going to shake their hand and walk away. It's the same when you're over a lot of places. Is if they invite you for something to eat, you go eat with them.
And you eat
So-
whatever you put on the table.
Exactly. And you don't have to be, if you don't enjoy something, you don't have to force yourself to eat it. But just because something may look a little weird doesn't mean it isn't really, really good. And don't ask what it is.
Yeah. There's something. I had this flash of memory. So I went to Africa one time as an exchange student with the Rotary Club, and we were invited to eat at some European who lived in Africa at their home, and the wife was this, quote, fabulous Sicilian cook. So we had this wonderful smells coming from the kitchen all during cocktail hour, and our mouth was watering. What is this going to be? That's good, right? So we all sit down at the table, and she brings out the first course. We clear that off, and then she brings out the second course, which was the main meal of the day. And it was a tray that fit as big as an oven tray. And on it was, I don't know how to explain it. It was a half of a skull of a goat, and the top teeth were there, and the brains were in it, and there was some kind of a red sauce all over it. And this was a delicacy from Sicily. And now that was really hard to stomach.
You have a little itty bitty bite.
Teeth and anyway, that was
Well,
it was European even. It wasn't even the wilds of Africa. But yeah, we had to be polite and eat. We didn't have to eat the whole thing, but we had to taste it. And it was very, even now when I'm thinking about it.
how did I do that? Well, I've had snake kebabs, so very good. And I didn't find out it was a snake till quite a bit later on. And I went, oh, yeah. Well, it's one way of getting rid of the snake.
Right. Good. So what can you tell us about traveling, or what would be your words of advice for someone who's never traveled before to be comfortable in an environment that's way different than home?
Well, the more you find out about, or try to find out about the place you're going to, and be prepared for the differences, that's going to help you a lot. And always remember to be respectful. You're a guest in somebody's country. That's not your home. That's their home. So treat it like their home. When you walk into somebody's house, you don't tell them, oh, the couch is going to look better over here, and start moving it. So if you treat it like that, you're going to be good. And always know the laws, respect the laws, and follow the laws, because some places, if you get caught, it can be harrowing. So just find out as much as you can about to wherever you're going.
That's great. Well, thank you for your insight and helping us understand how to travel safer, better, happier, with more enjoyment, and never stop, really. There's so much out there to see and experience.
Oh, there is. That's for sure. Well, I enjoyed it. This was fun remembering some of these things. So it was really great for me as well. So thank you very much.
Thank you.